Our next speaker on the same topic, Konstantinos Tampedakis, representing a Hellenic-based company who has developed a ballast water treatment system. He will be speaking on how to select and how to use and feedback for a ballast water treatment system.
Thank you very much, Mr. Belokas. Thank you very much, first of all, for your invitation. Thank you all for coming. Ballast water, what a headache. I'm just joking, okay? I'm really enjoying growing up, at least professionally, with the development of this market and the development of the legislation on the ballast water. And I will try to share with you the experience we have gained as ERMAFIRST from the development and installation of a ballast water treatment system. Okay. ERMAFIRST belongs to a bigger group of companies, Environmental Protection Engineering. Environmental Protection Engineering established back in 1977. Main scope was the marine protection environment through products and services. ERMAFIRST established back in 2009 when our ballast water treatment system was fully developed. The scope actual of ERMAFIRST was the certification of our ballast water treatment system and construction and, of course, the promotion and sales of it. As the previous speaker mentioned, why should we install a ballast water treatment system? Why do we care about the ballast water treatment? All has to do with legislation. So we have two different legislation. One comes from IMO, and the other one comes from United States Coast Guard. And these two are the driving force for all of us to develop a system and for the ship owners to install a system at some point from today until 2016 and onwards. So before choosing a system, we have to check the available technologies. I dare to say that today the technologies are pretty mature and there are quite few of them, so there are many choices for different ship owners, different type of vessels and different trading routes. But the rule of thumb is the combination of two different stages, treatment stages. One stage is the separation stage and the other one is the disinfection. Why do we need separation? First of all, to remove larger organisms. Secondly, to remove a big quantity of sediment. Then, of course, to promote the biological efficacy of the total system. And one minor thing, which is really important actually for the operator, is the reduction of wear and tear of the disinfection stage. Without the usage of a separation stage, the second stage, which it's either UV or electrolysis or an ozone or name it, and we'll see it in the later in the next slides. This device will be severely damaged. So the need of a separation stage is essential to reduce the wear and tear. How do we achieve separation? Through hydrocyclones or through fine filters? Industry today have implemented filters from 55 microns and below. The separation stage has been followed by the disinfection stage. Why do we disinfect the water in the ballast water treatment? First of all, to kill organisms and pathogens, or to inactivate organisms. According to the convention, we're not supposed to kill organisms. We're supposed to make them non-viable, which means that their DNA is destructed, so they cannot be reproduced. How do we achieve disinfection? Through chlorination, UV treatment, ozonation, oxidation, deoxygenation, and flocculation. These are the most popular disinfection technologies today in the market. And don't tell me that there aren't many. So let's check the technologies today. Total number of systems in the market, 70. These are the known vendors who have already certified or they are somewhere in the process of the certification. Type approved system, 28 according to IMO. There are 35 in total, unofficially. System using active substances, 19. System requiring treatment both ways, meaning during ballasting and deballasting, 27. The minimum treated rated capacity, as per today, 17.5 cubes per hour, and maximum capacity, 16,200. This is according to literature and what we, as manufacturers, claim. I'm rather curious to see that 16,000 cubic meters per hour treatment system, but a specific manufacturer claims that. Breakdown of technologies. As we can see, different technologies, they are more suitable for different flow rates. And there are different systems which can serve these specific fields. Selection criteria. Okay, so what you need to know as a ship owner or operator when you're knocking the door of a ballast water treatment vendor. First of all, size and type of vessel. And you have to accept, as we have accepted, that one system cannot serve it all. There are different types of systems which can serve different size and type of vessels. So we know, first of all, we should know size and type of vessels. Then trading routes and ports. This is really important because in the next slide we'll see some limitations. Ballast voyage duration, another important factor. Different treatment technologies require different holding time, meaning that a system with a minimum holding time of 24 hours cannot be used for a ballast voyage of 4 hours, because when a port state control will come and take a sample, then the effluent will not be according to the D2 standards. Or when the port state control officer will come on board and check according to the certificate of that specific system that a minimum 24 hours are required for the treatment, and that specific vessel has deballast in 4 hours, then you will get a fine. So this is another important factor, ballast voyage duration. Ballast pump type and characteristics. You should know the type of pump. Is it a Framo pump? Is it a centrifugal pump? What's the head of the pump? What's the hydraulic load of the pump? You should know that from the beginning. Ballast pump location. Is this ballast pump in the engine room, in a pump room? You should know that from the beginning when you're making an inquiry. Stripping system details. How are you stripping the remaining ballast water? Do you use the stripping system? If yes, how about the piping? How and where you should connect, or you want to connect the system? These are details that you should know in order to help the vendor to give you the best solution. And of course, approvals. Does the system have all the required approvals? That's a really important thing. And then we'll see in the next slides about the quality of the approvals. And then specific questions to the suppliers. Are there any limitations for the operation of the systems, like water turbidity? There are some technologies that they're really affected from the water turbidity, and no matter how fine filtration you're using, when the water is really turbid, then the system is not operating efficiently. Salinity. There are systems in the market that they have restriction on the salinity. Of course, there are different types of systems which can operate in a wide range of salinities, but still, salinity is an issue. Temperature, another issue. The majority of the systems who are using active substances, they're producing somehow these active substances by following some reactions. The reaction kinetics are being affected by the temperature. So check the temperature limitation. That's another important thing. You don't want to install a system on an ice class vessel, and that system have a minimum water salinity of 15 Celsius. Imagine what you'll do when you're sailing in the cold sea at 1 Celsius or 0 Celsius, and your system is not operating. So ask the supplier what's the limitation in temperature. And then pressure requirements. All of the systems, they require some pressure to operate efficiently. What is the pressure drop of the system? And if it's possible, do a calculation on the pressure drop of the specific components of the system. Power requirements. This is a really important factor, especially for the retrofitting market. You don't want to install a system which is consuming a lot of power and your generator is not producing a surplus, and you cannot cover it. Will you install a second generator? I don't think that's a good idea. Maybe it's a better idea to choose a different manufacturer. Again, ballast voyage duration. You should ask the vendor what is the limitation on the holding time. Important factor. Ballasting time delay. No matter how efficient is the system, okay, when you're installing separation divides, a small percentage of your intake will be returned back to the sea as a drain. So check with the vendor how much is this percentage. Is it 5%? Is it 10%? Is it 15%? And design your pump or your operation according to this delay. Cleaning requirements. Another important topic, to my opinion, which is not addressed openly. Does the system require any cleaning, chemical cleaning or mechanical cleaning? Can this be done by the crew, or special equipment is required by a specialized personnel? This is another important factor. Going to the consumables. Does the system have any consumables? And if yes, how much? How many of these? When do we have to replace them? How often? Where can we find these? Can we find them in every port? Shall we order it through the vendor? Does this consumable have an expiration date? These are things that you have to ask the vendor before making the final decision. And of course, ask for a maintenance and operation cost estimation. All of us, we have developed this nice, sophisticated software which can calculate the running cost of the system and the maintenance cost of the system on a yearly basis, five-year basis, and 10-year basis. So ask for that. All these are information and data really crucial, which will affect your choice. Ballasting time, cleaning requirements. Okay, sorry for that. I had to remove it from the previous slide. Sorry for that. Okay, installation step. I tried to keep everything on one slide, but I want to point out that the installation, especially for a retrofit, is not an easy task. According to my calculation, to our calculations, we need almost a year time from day 0, which is the time that the ship owner decides to install a system, until the day that the system is under operation. I have divided this process into different sections, like system selection, pre-engineering, ship visit and scanning. This is really important, actually. Negotiation and purchase of the system, system manufacturing, site-specific engineering, submittals to the flag or to the class societies for approvals, system delivery, prefabrication of all the piping and wiring required for installing the system, of course, installation and commissioning, and then startup. This process takes almost a year. If you remember from the previous speaker, there are some vessels from 1,500 cubes ballast tank up to 5,000, which will require to install a ballast water treatment system from the 1st of January and onwards. Our phone is not ringing, and I have called a couple of other manufacturers, and they're not accepting any phone calls. That means that either something is going wrong with us, or these ship owners have been a bit delayed. That's a fact. Operating a ballast water treatment system. Before going into that slide, I would like to point out that according to our data, more than 1,000 systems have been installed since today. But in operation, there are less than 10, meaning that no experience have gained. No one knows for sure what a system can do or cannot do, how bad or good can a system perform. And these people who have installed a system and they have decided not to run it, I think that they will regret it in the near future, because nowadays they can run it, they can play around, they can train the crew, they can blame the vendor for any mistakes or any offsets on the operation before the convention comes into force. So they have the time and the playground to do that. So if any of you in this room have installed a system, please use the system. This will be beneficial for the crew and the vendor and the industry in general. So going back to the actual work, it requires trained crew. So the crew should know how to operate the system. Which parameters are crucial? The crew should know which are the parameters that has to data logged or has to altered in order to promote the efficacy and efficiency of that specific system. Sampling, okay. The crew cannot take a sample to check the biological efficacy of the system, but can take samples just to check that the chlorine is which the online measuring device reading is according to that reading, or the UV transmission reading is according to what the online sensor reads. So sampling to analyze specific parameters is really crucial and can help the operation of the system. Documentation. All the required documentation for a possible port state control check should be there and available for inspection. Then we've got the VGP. The VGP, the new one, is complicating the operation of the system, since biological analysis of the effluent is required, toxicity analysis is required, and double checks and calibration of the sensor of the system is required. So VGP makes the operation of the system a bit more complicated. Maintenance of the system. The crew should be fully aware how to maintain the system and include this maintenance procedure drill to the PMS of the vessel. Consumable replacement. As I said earlier, the crew should know how to replace, where to find it, if they have an expiration date, check the expiration dates. Otherwise, the monitor or the control devices based on these consumables will not operate efficiently. Troubleshooting. The crew should be aware how to troubleshoot minor things before taking the phone and start calling the vendor or calling the superintendent engineer of that specific vessel asking for answers. Another important issue is the problem reporting. Every time that there is a problem on a system during its operation, it's good to report it both to the vendor and, of course, to the office. And this is the only way that we, as vendors, can optimize our systems, since, as I mentioned earlier, this is a new market with small experience, and the experience gained from the operation of the system day after day is the only feedback we can get in order to optimize and make our system much better. And then a few things about our technology. Time is finished. So our technology is based on hydrocyclones and electrolysis in different models. Thank you so much for your time.